Hello everyone. Alright, so this didn't start off as a tutorial. I simply recorded the footage of me making Rooster's gun, which was just a quick and dirty model so he'd have something to hold. But I thought it would make for a decent beginner tutorial, so I edited it apart and here it is. It's pretty basic. Like I said, it's a good tutorial for beginners. I've included on-screen tips that thin out as the tutorial progresses. You'll also notice that unlike Blender's default, I like to keep my Blender menus at the top of the windows. For those who don't know how to do that, you simply right-click on the menu bar and select Flip to Top. So let's get started. First we'll load a background image for reference. Hit N on your keyboard if you don't have this side window open. Sorry about this, I screwed up. I started modeling on the wrong axis. You should start modeling from the side, which is numpad 3. Hit Shift A to go into your add menu. You got a cube. Hit Z to go into wireframe mode, and Tab to go into edit mode. G to grab it and move it. Hit A to deselect everything, then hit B to box select. Now press 3 on the numpad so we can enter into the correct view. Select all and hit S to scale and X to restrict it to the X-axis. Control R will create a loop cut which follows the flow of the polygons and creates a cut all the way around. Let's click on Face Select Mode, select this lower polygon, and hit E to extrude it. Let's add another cube for the tank on top. Scale it in the Z-axis. So it looks like I somehow got the main body of the gun off-centered. So let's fix that. Since our pivot center is set to the median point of our selection, we can just set this value to 0 and it will snap it to the 0 point on the X-axis. Now select these faces, hit 1 to go into the front view, and scale on the X-axis. Sorry that my background image is on every view. I'll make sure next time I correct that. Add another loop cut right down the middle, and then box select and delete half of our model. Select these faces and then hit I to inset. Alt right click between polygon faces to select loops. And Alt right click on edges to select edge loops. And move these in slightly on the X-axis. Add a mirror modifier that allows you to see changes that you make on one side mirrored on the other. Now add some more loop cuts. If we scale these polygons along the Z-axis and hit 0, they will all flatten to the same value assuming that our pivot center is still set to median. And the same thing works with edges. When we scaled, the points near the midline of the object were scaled inwards too. So we want them to stay on the midline. So let's use the same technique we did prior when we wanted to recenter our object and set their values on the x-axis to 0. Hit G twice to go into edge slide mode. In the Tools side panel, under the Tools tab, set the shading to smooth. If you don't have this panel open, hit T in the 3D view to open it. When you use Ctrl R to create loop cuts, you can scroll the mouse wheel up or down to change the number of cuts you make. Let's scale the tank to match the drawing. And let's move these points to better match the contour of the gun. This little button on the modifier stack allows you to see the modifier in edit mode. I decided to delete my mirror modifier at this point. As I said, this video wasn't recorded to be a tutorial, so there are some mistakes like this one. The other half of the gun should be gone after deleting the mirror modifier. Just for now, pretend that it is, and we get back on track in just a minute. Let's add another cube for the front barrel of the gun. We want to turn this square into a circle. So go to your tools, then go down to Loop Tools, and select Circle. Then repeat that on the other end. Now let's select these two loose objects and make them separate from the main body of the gun. We should have probably done this before, but here we are. You want to hit P and then choose Selection. I should have chosen by loose parts, but I didn't. Hit I to inset the faces at either end of the barrel. Do that a couple times. Scale the barrel down and move it into position. After pressing S to scale, hold Shift and Y to exclude the Y-axis from your scaling. I'm going to add back in my mirror modifier to the main body of the gun, and then I'm going to move the modifier to the top of the stack. Left click on the red transform arrow, which is the X-axis, and pull out the front of the gun a little bit. This little eyeball turns on and off the visibility of any modifier.
Hit G twice to go into edge slide mode.
I'm removing these polygons because they won't be seen by the viewer. Therefore, there's no reason to render them. It helps us with UV unwrapping. And should try to do it whenever you can, unless for some reason you need a watertight model. Use / to isolate the object you're working on. Now I'm going to inset this group of polygons to flatten the front of the gun body a little. We don't want this group of polygons in the center. We want our edge loop to flow around the edge of the front of the gun. So I will Control-click to select the points in a row. Then I will scale them along the X-axis and hit 0 to make them all the same value, and then change their X value. Now all those points line up on the same axis, which of course is also the axis for the mirror modifier. I'm going to add another edge loop here to tighten up this crease in the gun body. I'm going to apply the mirror modifier now because I'm going to use the loop tools, and the circle option doesn't work well with the mirror modifier. Under Tools, then Options, select X Mirror. It'll do basically the same thing as the mirror modifier does, but the mirror modifier won't ever let points get out of symmetry. Let's select these polygons and hit E to extrude them to lengthen the barrel of our gun. Scale it only on the X and Z axes, or the X and Z plane. Then add some edge loops, which will tighten up these edges. Inset this polygon loop, and then hold Control while you're doing that to change the depth of the inset. Again, add some edge loops to tighten up these edges and get a nice hard-edged look. Add 2 edge loops here and scale them on the Y-axis to spread them out. I duplicated this thinking it would make things easier, but I should have just gone with a circle. Anyways.
Hold Control and the number pad plus key to expand your selection.
Again, scale this down on only the X and the Z axis. Now we'll use a combination of extrude, rotate, and grab to move all these edge loops into position. Extrude these points, and before hitting enter, hit S to scale them. Add another loop cut, and then select this edge, hit extrude, then scale, and then Alt M and select collapse. Grab 2 of these polygons at a time and hit F to combine them into one face. Again, another edge loop to tighten this up. Move this edge up using GG or the Z, grabbing the Z axis to give this more of a barrel shape. Left click here to move the 3D cursor, and then add another cube. Hit Tab to enter edit mode, and then scale it down. R to rotate it. Press I to use the inset command, and then hold down Control to change the depth. Hit A to select all, and then scale along the X-axis. Hit Control and the 2 key to add a subdivision modifier with 2 subdivision levels. Add 2 loop cuts here, scale them on the X to spread them out, and then do the same to the top. Set your shading to smooth. Now I'll tweak these edges to make the finger guard a little smoother. X mirror is on or off on a per object basis, so make sure you turn it on again before we adjust this. Let's thin this finger guard up a little bit. Select all the top polygons and pull them down on the Z-axis. Let's change our transformation location to the median point. This doesn't affect what I'm about to do, but I didn't want anyone to be confused. Okay, now back to more tweaking of the points. Yeah, so I duplicated the front of the gun again. I probably just should have added a circle and gone from there, but I didn't, so we'll just move on. Hit E to extrude this edge loop, and then Alt M to merge, and then select collapse. Now turn these triangles into four-sided polygons. Let's delete all these polygons and then connect these edge loops with the bridge tool. Rotate this on the Z-axis to flip it 180 degrees. Let's better select only the polygons we want to scale. So I will Alt right click to select this loop of polygons, and then use Control and the plus key to select more. Hit C to use the circle select, and then left click on the polygons you want to select. Then scale this down on only the Z and the X axis. Select this edge, hit X, and then select Dissolve Edges, because I prefer my edge loop down here. So make another edge loop and tighten up this edge, and do the same over here. Now let's put a little ridge on this. And add a few more edge loops. I'm going to spread this out a bit and add a couple more edge loops. Jumping back into the main body of the gun, let's do a little work on the handle. Extrude these polygons down on the Z-axis and then scale them inwards just a bit. Looks like somewhere along the line I didn't get my point here on the 0 axis, so I'll fix that in a little bit. So let's fix this little problem. Let's move one of the points onto the 0 x-axis, and then we will select both points, selecting the one we just moved last, then hit Alt-M to merge, and select merge them at the last point. Repeat that process on any other errors you have. I'm going to dissolve this edge, and then I'm going to add it back in. I see there's some more point problems here on the back of the handle. Do the same technique we used before with merging the points to get rid of those, if you have them.
hit X, and then select Dissolve Edges. You've got to make sure that whenever you're in one of the orthographic views and you want to select several points or edges or polygons that are lying on top of one another, you have to make sure you're in either wireframe mode or there's a button that says Limit Selection to Visible along the toolbar. You can select that as well, but I usually just hit Z to go in and out of wireframe mode. It makes it a little easier. I guess that would be more accurately called the menu bar rather than the toolbar. Alright, here for some reason I did twice the work. I grabbed both places where the brace would be and did it twice. I don't know why. Just do yourself a favor and do it once. Shift D will duplicate these polygons, and then you'll hit P to make them a separate selection, separate apart from the existing object. Select the new part and add a solidify modifier. Now we'll move the solidify modifier up the stack and change the thickness to something that looks good. The solidify modifier will add extra polygons to the object, and when we apply it, they will be editable. I like to jump in and out of seeing the subdivision surface turned on or off to get a better idea of how the model is coming. Let's make a loop cut with Control R and add 2 cuts. Most of the tools in Blender have a text input that you can use that isn't immediately noticeable when you start the program, when you start using it. But you can, for example, the Edge Slide tool, as soon as you hit Edge Slide, you can then enter a numeric value and have it slide in that amount. And that value is shown on the toolbar whether you have it on the top or the bottom. I called it toolbar again. I mean the menu bar. Now do the same thing, but type in -0.8 to go in the opposite direction. And of course, repeat this operation if you did the same thing I did and gave yourself twice as much work. Let's add a little more geometry at the base here by using Loop Cut. And once we've done that, we'll scale these polygons, this new geometry in on the very bottom here along the x-axis. As you can see, the edges for our scope support are not very well defined. So we'll go on the inside and add 2 loop cuts and then scale them outwards to make those edges more defined. I want the bottom of the scope support to better match the shape of the gun. So to do that, I'm going to have to add more geometry. To make my scope support circular again, I'm going to have to go in and select these points and turn them into a circle by using the loop tools and hitting circle. You can hit W to bring up the specials menu, and from there select circle. Now we're going to turn on snap mode to align the interior edges with the circles we've just created. Set the snap entity to vertex. Then when we drag this edge in the Z direction, it will snap to that vertex, but only on the Z value. On the toolbar on the left side of your viewport, go to Options and turn on X Mirror to reflect changes made on one side of the X-axis. Make sure that those changes are mirrored on the other side. If you don't see this menu, hit the T key on your keyboard. So turn off snap mode and let's fix these points that are in the wrong positions. Looks like those supports aren't sized quite right, so let's fix that. Now scale the insides of the supports to match. I guess this is a tank, not a scope, but anyway, scale it to match. Now let's adjust the bottom of the supports so that it more closely matches the curve of the gun. We'll do that by moving around some of these points. Yeah, I wasn't happy with the thickness of the walls on the tank support, so I went in and changed those. So go in and move the outer wall now inwards. Now let's give our muzzle some pizzazz. Then I can hit Z to turn on wireframe so you can see what's going on the inside. So now we move on to the lower, I guess it's like a flashlight, and build the supports for that. And pretty much the technique is the way we modeled it is the same as the way we modeled the supports for the tank on top. And I did the same thing. I made a duplicate and made twice as much work for myself. So don't do that. Just make one and duplicate it when you're done. All right, let's go. I forgot to grab the flashlight with the braces. Make sure you select the braces and the flashlight when you move them. Now hold Shift and right click each object to select them all, and then hit Ctrl J to join them into one object. Add a little detail to the front of the flashlight using the inset command. Alright, and there's the model. Hope you guys liked the tutorial. Sorry there was some issues with it. Like I said, it wasn't planned to be a tutorial in the beginning, it was just a recording. So hope you got something out of it. Those of you who are brand new to modeling in Blender. And subscribe please if you want to see more of my stuff coming up. And that's it. Talk to you later. Bye.